what's up, guys? This is Jayme Bedingfield. You are listening to my podcast, Too Many Words. If you are a regular, welcome back. Welcome me back. It has been a while. If you are a first timer, well, get ready. Strap in. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm excited to be back. I have the wonderfully prolific and friend of the show, Oli Jacobs, on in a bit. It's always a pleasure chatting with Oli about life and living with words and stories and such. And I will get to our talk shortly. How are you? What's new? What hurdles are you jumping, approaching, climbing on, straddling? We are in October here in Seattle. The rain and wind is, becoming greater, which I am happy about because I am a fern. This summer was long and hot and filled with smoke. Wildfires are tragic, awful things. And it's just all too easy to take in all the disasters and events of recent and be convinced the world is ending. But it is the fall, and I do love it. I love pumpkins and cloudy days and rain boots, and October has just this mysterious magic to it. And Halloween is there. Writing is actually it's going fantastic for me right now, which is not something that I was able to say over the last 5 months. So, yay. Ideas are flowing. I am working on several short stories I'm really just tickled with. I will let you know publication details when I find them out. Short fiction has just been an incredible tool for me as I took a break from, this big project that has been eating my feet for about a year. Just getting lost in these shorter stories and, the characters that are stumbling through them has just been refreshing. It's like being inside like a small smoky room and stepping outside and the air is crisp and the wind is it's just a gentle breeze. That's, kind of what it's been like. And, this summer, aside from weather complaints, was kind of rough for me emotionally. My anxiety, which has always been present, took over quite a bit. And at first I didn't realize it. I was actually convinced I had pancreatitis or some other horribly, awful stomach issue, digestive situation. And I went to the doctor and nope, just really rabid anxiety. And I've been practicing some tools and, to help me handle it and find peace, and yoga and diet have really been helping. The difference in, my anxiety levels when I start the day doing yoga or if I do it later are, they're great. It's early morning yoga for me. Also, there's been some help from a touch of anxiety meds, and I am so Western medicine cautious for numerous reasons. Childhood stuff that, just there below the surface, and my, fiction mind. It's, I can think of a million reasons why not to go to the doctor or take medication. But in this case, it's conservative and I'm happy with the results. I know that everybody's different, but anxiety it's a storm, really, and it can be sneaky. Self-care is not selfish. My tummy is much better. I am learning what self-care means. Apparently, after a while on the setting, run self into ground catches up with you. Sitting with tea is important. While all that was coming to a head this summer, I was in the middle of a rewrite. I spent months not listening to myself and my characters, and I ended up, of course, as you guessed, head against the wall, blocked. Every sentence was like pulling a tooth out with a lollipop stick. So I decided to take some space between me and the project and focus on other things. And it hurt at first. Stepping away from a project can feel like the worst possible thing. It's not. It started rattling though. The drawer that I put it in started shaking and making noises, and it's like it can smell nano rye approaching, and pumpkin spiced everything. I don't know what, but I know what needs to be done now. I have the story threaded around my finger, and I am gearing up to jump back into the dark and tortured fantasy world that I created, and things are settling down for me. We are all in our routine as a family, which part of that is me accepting there are elements to my day-to-day life I can't control, but that doesn't mean I need to be terrified of them. And no level of vacuuming will help the world from imploding. So here we are. But yes, the show is back, and I'm happy to be back. As some of you already know, Too Many Words started in January 2016 as a way to expand my readership after my novel, The Highly Capable, was released through Book Trope. I tried a couple of things, this podcast being one of them, and not only did the show stick and gain just tons of loyal listeners, you guys totally rock, by the way, but I fell in love with, making the show. And when the publisher closed its doors, taking the books with it, I kept the show going while I pursued other writing endeavors. Talking to you guys and the other creators I bring on the show became just, a kind of therapy for me. I build and explore my career and what it means to me. I can't thank you enough for all the support you've showed me so far. I really can't. I continue to be encouraged by those of you who kept reaching out and asking me when the show is coming back, telling me how you miss the support while you work on your projects. Your messages made me happy and helped me realize how much the show helped me through projects as well. This is Too Many Words' first episode since February. And as many of you may remember, I had to put the show on hiatus to fully, focus on my work in progress, which turns out I strangled it. I have just a long list of awesome and talented guests and quite a few ideas for upcoming episodes. I'm really pumped. I've made a couple of, changes and improvements to the show. The sound, as you are hearing, hopefully right now, is better. I have upgraded my equipment. I have my new site. I'm really proud of it. I tinkered with it for a while, so go check that out. That's tmwpod.com. Let me know what you think about that. Also, you will notice no sponsor messages in the beginning or anywhere else in the episode. Instead of wrangling sponsors and making guesses what products you wouldn't mind being pestered with, I am trying Patreon instead. I've heard a lot about it over the last year or so, and now that I'm dipping my toes in it, it's really cool, and I'm excited. It's a great way for me to connect even more with you guys and hear your thoughts. And it's just super important to me that I have the time and focus to bring you the highest quality episode possible. And significant preparation goes into each one, and as well as reading my guest work and researching a bit. And time on the podcast is time not writing, which as a freelance writer means, not earning. So I am looking to you guys for support. I'm hoping all of you that love the show, that tune in, will pledge $1 a month to help keep the show going and me in food, with maybe even a few bills paid. Too Many Words supporters will get exclusive audio and written content, to vote on the next books I review, get a chance to pick questions for guests and topics for me to discuss. And supporters will also be the first to hear about project and publication updates. So if you want to support me and the show, go to patreon.com/too-many-words. And I really appreciate it. Super, super do. And spread the word. And you guys are awesome. And I think that wraps up my beginning ramble for this week. Book reviews will start next week. I will be letting you know my thoughts on Kat Howard's An Unkindness of Magicians. Spoiler alert, I love it, but I will get into more details next week. Let's get into my talk with Oli Jacobs. I've been really excited to get the show going again, and I felt like it was just perfect to have you be the first guest back.
I feel honoured. I do. It's not like I'm shilling anything or anything, but no, it's a pleasure to be back. Really enjoy the show. So, yes, thank you very much for having me.
How's it going?
It's going well, actually. It's creatively, it's a bit of a fallow period, but I recently had a bit of success, literary wise, in that I got picked up by a publisher in the UK. So,
That's awesome.
in the writing side, it's fantastic. Personally, I got married in June, so that was nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful occasion without too much pomp and circumstance, which was exactly to our liking.
Nice.
But yes, aside from that, leisurely, really nice and leisurely, which is, as I'm getting older, I'm finding I'm more accustomed to.
It's interesting just as time passes how, just comforts and routines change
Definitely.
and how it can change without you even realizing it. I mean, that's kind of something that I've, you know, maybe saying recovering from is a bit dramatic, but I'm a bit dramatic this
Oh no,
past
no,
summer.
no. I definitely get what you're saying there. Just kind of, it's whereas before one could party all week long, shall we say?
Yes.
Now it's a couple of hours on a Saturday night, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, right, I'm going home now to have a nap. And yeah, so it's exciting in that respect.
Well,
um,
yeah, my favorite thing to do on Friday nights is to be in pajamas watching television or reading.
oh god, yeah. It's as soon as I get in from work, it's easy trousers are on, um, articles brought up on the phone, and just lying down, kind of just indulging in some light reading. So yeah, just surfing the web for articles on interesting subjects and such. I've become an addict to the website TV tropes again. Although
Oh, yeah?
although I would say that's a gateway drug, because it has introduced me to a lot of a lot of new like stories, like and other media. But like I say, it's expanded my library a bit because obviously you look up stuff. I mean, I like looking at the horror tropes because I'm a big horror geek, and so you find out really interesting stories and interesting tales. I think the one that caught me recently, just seeing if it did actually hit my. Oh yeah, I've got the Women in White to read as well. There's a lot of colour based horror actually. I've just realised I'm looking through my Kindle at the moment. I've got the King in Yellow, the Woman in White, the Man in Black, and the Dog in Turquoise, which is it's actually an underrated tale. I
I
reckon
love the title, The Dog in
Dog in
Turquoise.
Turquoise. It doesn't actually exist yet, but I feel it soon
Oh,
will do. So bear with me while I work on that.
yeah, let me know. I can see the t-shirts already.
Oh, I think there's going to be tons of t-shirts and merchandising opportunities. Talking of which, I'm going to kind of subtly veer this back to my new book.
Yes, please do.
I think I shall. So yes, as I said, I got picked up by a UK publisher called Unbound. I don't know if you've heard of them.
The first time I heard about them was finding out that your book had found them, but they do sound similar to a couple other publishers that
Hmm.
I've experienced recently.
Like, so I think I remember it was your fantasy book. I think was on a similar.
Yes, the Shadow Bearers, Rebecca Clark and
Yeah.
I co-writing that, and we went ahead and put it in Inkshares, which is a crowdfunding publisher,
Yeah.
was doing a contest through Geek and Sundry. So yeah, we gave it a go. Didn't win, but we're working on that now again. So
It gives you a lot of I hate to use the word because it's the creative's bane, but exposure, as it were. I mean, the book I've got with Unbound at the moment is called Deep Down There, and it's a horror comedy, although probably more leaning towards horror than comedy. basically about a hole that appears in a gated community. So it's one of those places where, there's like, to get inside, you have to key the code, get through the gate, and drive in. Da, 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 and there's the houses all lined up in a nice little semicircle with a nice garden in the middle. But like I say in the story, a hole has now appeared in that garden, so kind of ruining the bed of flowers. But these things.
That's part of it, though. Well, I read the excerpt, and I love the tone. I'm really excited to read more of it.
Out of curiosity, which excerpt did you read? Because we recently updated it on the site. So we had the opening where it's literally they all discover the hole. Now we've updated it to say that it's more the dealing with the hole and the fallout after they try and cover it.
I feel like it's the second one that you described.
Okay, yeah. I spoke to my editor because I had some critique of the campaign itself, and that was one of the things that was recommended to me. So yeah, I changed it. Like I say, originally you had the opening of the story. So when the residents find the hole, and you're introduced to the characters. So our main protagonist is Hannah Suggs, who's a single mother of two. She's, like I say, she's our main focus character. She's the character we follow and such. And then you have other important characters like the Colonel, who's like a retired military man. Rich Davis, who's one of these young people who's created an app and is now just insanely rich because of it. You've also got like the caretaker Crendon, the Barrett, a gay married couple who are also quite interesting characters. But yeah, you get introduced. Like I say, the opening was just to kind of get the feel and basically build the sense of the community that we're going to be dealing with. And then, the latest one is more kind of like, this gives you an idea of the horror that is going to exist.
Yes. Well, I actually, when I was going through the contest, we got the same feedback because we had the prologue up there, and we got the feedback of, hey, give us some of the meat, some of the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing, especially with like genre fiction, like fantasy, like horror. You don't want everybody knows the basics. So in this case, it's a story about a hole. So if you're talking about there's a hole, it's like, well, people already know that. That is known. When you get into what we've done in the latest excerpt, which is kind of give you the aftermath of one of the attempts to basically sort out the hole. Like I say, you're getting into the characters more. You get a lot more kind of in-depth idea of their what they're like, their personalities and such. And also, there's that nice little section of horror just to kind of give you the idea of what's there. I mean, like you say, the comedy aspect probably comes from the narrator's tone, because I wrote it in quite a droll fashion, I think, rather than kind of like with horror you can write it as is, which is just completely stoic, straight, and this is what it is. You can put a bit of theatre in it, like a bit of purple prose, or I've just done it in my own personal tone, which is something that I've had said to me in reviews of my previous works, that the author's voice comes through, so to speak.
Definitely. I would agree with that. Well, that's part of the trick, isn't it? I mean, that's actually kind of was the theme of my summer, is that I was actually, without realizing it, controlling the narrative voice in a way that was not helping the story. When, just kind of letting, giving into just the natural ways.
Yeah, definitely. It becomes a kind of I think if you force it, then it does become an issue, because it loses that spontaneity, and it becomes more about trying to be that person rather than like just be naturally that person. And that does affect the overall voice. I think I had it in one work. Why I was writing the sequel to Strange Days in High Wycombe, and again, it was a case of forcing the voice rather than letting it speak for itself. And you can tell when you read it back and you look at it, and you're just kind of like, you know what, this isn't it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, when it's too hard, it's usually worth taking a step back and, you know, doing some honest thinking. The honest thinking is something that I was avoiding for about 2 months until it became clear that I was just banging my head against the wall, and I was just like, "Okay," because it was a rewrite, based on a content edit, letter, and I was just editing too much, and I needed to just kind of listen to the story. Now I'm ready to do that, but it needed to go in a drawer.
yeah, definitely. Sorry, one sec. Just battling a mild invasion in my home, and there we are. Back. Here we are. Yeah, yeah, yes. Sorry, vague distraction there. We've
Oh, hey, it happens.
yeah.
While we're actually slightly distracted, you will occasionally hear a snort and snore, and my Jake the Rottweiler is by my feet, and he sounds like a dragon.
That's fine. My lurcher lady was present earlier, and every time my fingers met the keyboard, she was doing her best to nuzzle the keyboard to reclaim my hand. So, yeah, it's the fun of, I think every writer needs a dog, but also by the same token.
Well, and I have three, and I work, from home, so I rarely leave the house.
Yeah.
So they're not used to, I've basically given them all separation anxiety. So if I were to actually put them upstairs instead of in here with me, you would hear barking, which is even harder to edit out.
Well, like yeah, lady's become quite a house dog, and because we were, like I say, when we first got a lurcher, obviously the first thing you think of with a lurcher, obviously, is grey, because it's a greyhound cross. You think
Right.
a lot of exercise, but in actuality, they're possibly the laziest dog I've ever met, and it's wonderful. Kind of, as we were talking about the brilliance of Friday nights when we all relax and such, and then the lady will come and just kind of flop in the middle of us. So,
That's awesome.
which is always a pleasure. Yeah, it's always nice. But yes, but yeah, getting the voice right, I think for stories is important. I think it also it's one thing I think I've mentioned before in my rail against I think there's authors and there's writers, and with a hard W, capital W. These are the people who have read the books, who have done the classes, and really kind of yes, this is what writing is all about, and it becomes very formulaic and very structured, as it were. If you know what I mean, it becomes very much kind of writing by numbers rather than being something that comes naturally.
Oh, totally. Well, it's kind of the whole forcing the plot or letting the plot develop naturally.
Yeah, exactly. And also putting your own unique spin on it. So putting yourself into it rather than doing it by structure, basically.
No, totally.
Writing by numbers. I mean, putting yourself into it, putting your own voice into it is, I think, a massive, massive thing that really it basically it differentiates. I think good writing, which is functional. You're being told a story. There are words, sentences, and they all come together to do what they need to do.
Mhm.
But that's good writing. Awesome, lovely stuff. And then you have, you know, writing. Yeah, you have what's beyond that good. That like writing that means something. To say means something again puts a rather pompous kind of air to it. But again, it's that kind of thing where you have something that is more. It's not just a book. It's not just words on a page. It's a story, and it's a story that's being told to you. rather than like a manual. We read manuals. We read kind of how-to guides in a manner to be told something. Or no, well, yeah, to be told something in a functional way. So
Right.
do this, do that, da da da.
But
Whereas,
that's different than actually the words coming through and being a hand for you to hold through an adventure. I mean, that's really what everybody wants is, decent company and some intrigue.
exactly, and they want that. They want to feel like it's spinning a yarn almost, that kind of old school, everybody around the campfire telling it with their own distinct um, way, oeuvre, as it were. It's you've got it's that type to me, that type of writing where it is a case of it comes across more you're telling this, somebody's telling you the story rather than you're just reading it on a page.
Mhm.
um it harkens back to that, when almost when you were young and you'd all sit around, or you'd be in bed as your parent would tell you a story and they put their own spin on it. I mean, you could have, the amount of people who have probably read, oh god, I don't know, some, I'm trying to think, Cinderella, for example, and the way, different ways you can tell Cinderella, different ways, it's the same story, but if you put yourself into it rather than have just be words, effectively, you're bringing life to the words.
Mhm. Definitely. And I feel like, and at least for me, but I don't think I'm alone here. In order to do that, I have to get a little tortured and kind of, give part of myself over to the process in order for it to be natural.
Definitely. I think, especially again with genre fiction that we both work on, it requires a certain mental grinding, as it were,
Yes.
because slice of life stuff, I wouldn't say is easy, but it's much more. You can take it a lot more. I mean, this is something that with Deep Down There I found was the fact that it simply is just normal people in an abnormal situation. Uh, it's it's not as mentally taxing, but then when when you bring in those moments, that's what then brings in. It's the scare chord in a horror movie, to give an analogy. Whereas you got kind of got this nice mellow da, 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 and then you got, and that's what captures you, and that's what kind of, as a writer, definitely kind of breaks you out of that monotony. And I think then, especially with horror, you kind of have that building dread. It's something that I've always liked about horror, especially horror writing, in that it's not built around, because it's not visual. You don't have that kind of nice little scenario. You have to kind
Yeah.
of build the atmosphere through description. Again, through in Deep Down There, I kind of hope to do that, and so that when the horror does happen, then like I say, it hits harder than it would if it was just, I don't know, like there was just I've kind of twisted myself here, but I think what I'm trying to say is, yeah, it's, you do, for good, I nearly said the phrase good writing then, which would have completely contradicted my, yeah, I'm nothing if not a hypocrite, Jamie, I do admit
Oh, we're all hypocrites.
that. But yeah, you need to kind of almost take that part of your brain, take that part of your mental health, and put it into your writing. And
Yes.
yeah, I think that sort of thing does come through. I mean, it's why you look at most creatives and they are categorically insane. But to be insane, it is because you need to give yourself to very insane conditions and insane
Yes.
concepts.
You need to simultaneously let your mind just kind of lean in to this fictional world. At the same time, you need to take care of it and tend to it so we can do that. It's a whole thing. I just finished a book called The Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard.
Oh, okay.
And and this isn't a spoiler, I don't think, but but there's this aspect of the magic in the book where you can cut pieces of your shadow, and or other people can, and it, has magical properties. So in order to have, be more powerful, you can take, part of a shadow of another magician and collect that power. And just that concept reminded me just so much of what it's like, or what it feels like to write.
No, definitely, yeah. That kind of aspect of almost removing part of your psyche and applying it to a creation, as it were. It
Uh-huh.
is very much, yeah, in the same vein. Like I say, that cutting of the shadow and adopting and almost absorbing. You're kind of, it's almost kind of, that the pound of flesh, as it were.
Mhm.
Kind of,
Exactly.
that's your offering, and this, it's, instead of being a physical thing, it's a mental thing. It's a kind of, you're you're basically bleeding into well, the old cliche of you're not writing using ink, you're writing using your own, not literally, but, or maybe if you're into that sort of thing, you're literally your own blood, your own, yeah, your own ness, as it were. And it's quite something. I mean, like I say, with Deep Down There, it was kind of it was a mix of, it was almost kind of quite schizophrenic, because it was, like I say, it was, you kind of had this slice of life aspect, and then you threw in the the outrageous, the absurd, as it were, the abnormal. I mean, that's how the whole idea came about. Really, it was literally just, what's the most banal situation I can think of, and how can I turn that into something absolutely terrifying? And I just thought, a hole. Literally finding a hole. It's like, well, it's a hole. And I mean, there have been horror films which have done, the hole, what's in the hole. And I thought, well, yeah, you could do that. And I think the difference between Deep Down There and these films is, these films obviously set up the fact that the hole was horrible and would produce monsters, or there's demons in there, or something like that. And
Right.
literally, in Deep Down There, the hole is a hole. It sits there. It does nothing. It's weird because it's perfectly cut into the earth. Like, there's no ridges or craterish factors. It's literally a smooth hole in a perfect circle that has just appeared. And I think I equated it to, those cheese cutters you can get, where you kind of put them in a wheel of cheese
Yeah.
and you pull a cylinder out. It's like that. It's like somebody's done that to the earth. They've literally just kind of gone and then pulled, and then it's kind of like, so yeah. In the story, it's more about what the whole is. There are instances where it's, there's something, you get the impression that there's something down there. Like I say, in the openings of the books, they do the first things you'd think when you see a massive hole. They try to fill it with cement, they try to cover it, and all these things are, obviously, not to get into spoiler territory, but all these things don't work out. um so of course, then the natural thing to do next is explore it, which, I mean, I was inspired by one thing. Obviously, I'm a big, as we've said before, I'm a big Lovecraft fan. Um,
Oh, so am I.
oh God, I love Lovecraft, and what the thing I love about some of his stories is that exploration, and
Yes.
the fear of the fear that is involved in exploration, like the tensity of the unknown, and of putting yourself in a situation which is, for all intents and purposes, absolutely bloody terrifying, because you don't know what's there.
I actually often think of Lovecraft because he is just, I mean, his work is just gorgeous and genius and so real. And when you cut all the layers, off, the underlying theme are, they're just all so, honest and relatable. And he was just never appreciated during his time.
One thing, I like putting Lovecraft references into my books, and if you actually, when people read Deep Down There, they will actually kind of go, "Oh, okay."
I love Easter eggs.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing I don't mind kind of giving away now, as it were, exclusive on the podcast, if you want to say, put it that way. But is of course is the company that owns Anton Court, which is the gated community in deep down there, is called HP Properties.
I love it.
And immediately I was like, yeah, I know that. I know exactly what I'm doing. And if any listeners go onto the Unbound page, I'd probably quickly
Yes.
plug the link. It is unbound.com/books/deep down there. If you go there, you'll be able to see my wonderful bearded face, a little blurb about it, and yeah, there's an excerpt there at the moment, and part of the excerpt is a letter that was sent out by HP Properties, and the name of the community manager is William Dyer, which, if you know your Lovecraft, is one of the characters, I believe, if memory serves, from At the Mountains of Madness. Yes. So yeah, it's yes, it's the main character from At the Mountains of Madness. So yeah, there's little kind of like Easter eggs like that I've just kind of put in there. But I think my point was that what really fascinated me was it wasn't just a case of, obviously, when you say Lovecraft, people, they immediately think like Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep,
The Outsider.
basically, yeah, you think of like the old ones, the great elder gods, Eldritch, and da 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 da. But the reasoning behind that was more of a, like, say, it's a cosmic horror story. It is the trope namer for that, because it's basically going, this, everything you know is but a grain of sand on a giant beach.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everything you believe, everything about existence, it isn't just that. There are things beyond, and I think that type of horror is something that I love. I love that type of. It's almost cerebral. It's rather than just going for primal fears, kind of like vampires, the fear of kind of that almost eroticism, zombies, the fear of the other, and you think of ghosts and like the fear of the past and stuff like that, and regret and guilt. Lovecraft kind of goes beyond all that, because it is literally like, these are known things. About guilt, about lust and anger and fear. These are things you do not know. These are things beyond it. It's the incomprehensible, and that's what I absolutely adore about Lovecraft. It's because you can't even put it into words. And again, that's something I wanted to bring into deep down there. And in fact, the horror, the whole itself, this fact of what you should be scared of, it's kind of beyond just me saying, there's zombies down there or something like that. There isn't zombies down there. I should probably say that now. But it's like
the unknown, and then the disruption to environment. Now you have characters that can react.
Yeah, and exactly. That is the exact point of the story behind Deep Down There. You have this small community of people, who've grown quite close. They've bonded together, and their life is disrupted by this hole. And at first, you think it's just a hole. It's there's nothing strange about it. But then you have like the children of the community acting very strange. You have emotions kind of really ramp up in people. Like there's obsession, there's paranoia, there's manic mania. There's all these things which are bred that almost expand, and that, I think that's one of the more, I wouldn't even say supernatural. It is supernatural, because it does invoke or it does cause these feelings to occur in the characters. So obviously there is something strange there, but what it is is it's supernatural in this, or not even supernatural in the sense that it isn't like ghosts or anything like that. It's nightmares, and it's very real in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, I'm really excited for this one. And to go back a little bit to you know, the Unbound plug, when you go to the site, and even if, you just go to unbound.com, search Oli Jacobs, the book comes right up, and there's a spot there where you can pledge and support the book. Um, and the whole process takes under a minute. So I definitely suggest that, those of you that are listening, like horror, definitely, definitely do that.
Thank you very much. It is like I say, there's loads of things as well as the like digital versions. You get paperbacks, t-shirts. There's loads of stuff available, and also what we're doing is every time we hit a tenth of a percentage, so like 10, 20, 30, 40%, I have something called the Wheel of Misfortune, where you, like I say, pledges win prizes. Effectively, is what I'm saying. So you could win like paperbacks of my previous works, digital copies of my previous works, like exclusive posters, upgrade
Nice.
pledge. We had somebody win some Lego figures recently. I made some figure like some of the characters out of the book out of Lego, and that was one recently. So it's
That's
you.
awesome.
You don't just win. You don't just get what you're pledging towards. You have the chance to win stuff that is unique.
That's awesome.
Well, I wanted to give something else. It's easy to simply do a campaign and say, yeah, you get this, you get the book, you get your name in the book. There we go. I'm like, no, I want to give something a bit more. Put a bit of fun to it. Really, make it more than just kind of you've pledged to the book. Now we just wait and see. I mean, I'm doing updates quite often, just kind of keeping everybody, what the situation is. And yeah, like I say, we're running those little competitions, doing updates, like video updates through the Facebook page, Oli Jacobs Books. That's facebook.com/OJ Books. And yeah, just basically with Unbound. I mean, I used Kickstarter before. Unbound is like next level Kickstarter almost. It's absolutely fantastic. Like I say, their pedigree is phenomenal. It was founded by the same guys that came up with. Have you heard of QI?
No, I have not.
It's I don't know if they show it on BBC America. It's basically I don't want to say it's kind of I guess it's a quiz show, but it was like the early episodes were hosted by Stephen Fry. Um, who is I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Fry. He's an English personality. He's kind of been in a few films as well, but absolutely great personality. And it affects like QI stands for quite interesting. So you get marked down if you give the obvious answer, and it is. I would recommend looking it up because it is hilarious and also insanely interesting. But yeah, the same guys who created that created Unbound. They've published books by the likes of Stephen Fry, Terry Jones of Monty Python. They've published by Robert Llewellyn of Red Dwarf. So if your listeners know of like geeky stuff like that, and yeah, just like loads of well-known author or personalities even. I'm just trying to see if I can come up with any more names. I can't at the moment, but yeah, it's like I say in the UK it has quite like I say it's got an excellent pedigree. It's coming. Like I say, it's growing every day. I found out about it through a friend of mine, Stuart Ashen, who is a comedian by the name of Ashens. He's published 2 books on there about terrible video games you've never heard of. So,
Oh, nice.
which is hilarious. It's really really good. And like I say, I alluded to it earlier, but there's such a great community there that writers coming together and basically just all kind of supporting each other in a way that is rarely seen, I think, a lot in the writing community. I mean, sometimes you do find some people are a little bit kind of insular and kind of, don't want to kind of push, kind of play well with others, should we say? But then, like I say, everything I've found, I've discovered some great books as well that I've pledged to. So yeah, if your listeners, any particular bookworms out there, do go on unbound.com, not just for Deep Down There, but like there are some brilliant books available on there. There's one of the latest ones actually that's kind of caught my eye, is I don't know if you've heard of the Twitter account called Whores of Yore.
No, I haven't.
It's kind of like, it looks at like sex and eroticism from the olden days, and they've recently got arrived on Unbound and are doing one, basically a curious history of sex. So it's kind of like a light-hearted look at everything historically sexual. It is very interesting. It's very I kind of, like I say, I kind of looked at it and I'm kind of like, yeah, I need to put some money down for that. There's also one of the popular projects recently was a critical study of Robert Heinlein. Heinlein. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but the popular sci-fi author, and somebody's done a so you've got a collection of his works that's been studied. So yeah, it's so, like I say, as a community, there's so much there, and
That's awesome.
not just for yourself, but many other people who, if you're a bookworm, if you're a writer, it's definitely something that you should look into. And as I say, I mean, it does open up. It is always open for submissions. So you can click on start a project, sign up, and basically be like, look, this is my idea, pitch it to them, and go from there. So if you're a writer and you've got the story and you've like, I've just been waiting for the right opportunity to put it out there, this is definitely
Something you recommend.
yes, definitely.
That's awesome. I mean, it's kind of wild, as overwhelming as it feels sometimes. Just what we as creators have available to us now is kind of nuts and awesome.
Oh yeah, it's definitely that. I mean, I think there is the aspect of like say people kind of getting along and ha ha yes da 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 da, whereas now it's become a mass crowd of people shouting and trying to shout louder than everybody else, and I feel
there is a lot of that, but I've recently just cleaned up my feed quite a bit, and now it's mostly pretty happy. I mean, people are upset, so there is no avoiding that, but I've definitely cut down on just the rabid negativity.
yeah, like I say, I think that's the problem that's becoming with social media, is that, because I mean, I'm not saying, unfortunately we don't live in a positive world. I'd love to say we do, but there is quite a lot of negativity flowing at the moment. It's like we're basically turning into Ghostbusters 2. Which is probably the first time in my life I've referenced Ghostbusters 2.
I think that's the first time in my life I've heard a reference for Ghostbusters.
But yeah, you got the negative slime in there, and it's like we've kind of all been infested with that almost. But I think my point with referencing Twitter was that creatively, there's a lot of talent out there now, and a lot of voices, but it's about having that uniqueness of voice to stand out. I think that's the challenge these days for most people.
Kind of all aspects of this gig. I mean, you have that as far as, how you're reaching to your readers and, on social networks, and as well as, getting discovered, getting your stuff published. You really, the numbers are not in our favor.
No, definitely not. So I think some good advice I've continuously got and continuously need reminding of is that when it comes to writing, you shouldn't be doing it for the fame, fortune, and to be the next J.K. Rowling. You should be it just to enjoy telling the stories. And this is something that I've definitely adopted, because yeah, otherwise it will just drive you nuts,
Well,
really.
and it can be easy to slip into that. I actually, a Twitter account that I really, love is, Delilah Dawson. She tweets a
Yeah,
lot, just a lot of writing advice, and one of one of the threads that she did recently was just kind of how her process and how she gets into the mindset she needs to get into. And one of the things that she said is, I make sure that I'm doing this. I treat this as me time, as something I do for me and not a chore. And that perspective alone, is huge.
it it makes a massive difference because
It can feel thankless if are having a rough stretch and you're focusing on the wrong things. It
definitely,
can be like, I'm just, I'm in a corner making things up, and I don't know I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah,
Or it's like, this is awesome that I get to do this and I'm sitting down and I'm having fun, and the product's better when I have that mindset.
oh god, much definitely. When you're in that positive state of mind, it is. It makes huge amounts of differences. But the problem is, you will reach that point where you are kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. This is no. It reminds me of a cartoon by a guy called Tom Gould, um, with Gauld. Again, hilarious guy. He's done a lot of stuff with writing, and I'm just trying to find it now. Um, but let me find it. It's basically it's a writer kind of writing. They're writing a book, and they're kind of like the stage of writing is like, okay, this is pretty funny. No, actually, this is hilarious. Or is it hilarious? I don't know. Okay. Oh my god, it's not funny at all. Oh god, why have I done this? I've got to take it out. Well, no, actually, maybe it is funny. Do you know what? I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to leave it in. If people don't find it funny, then there we are. Cut to the reader.
Yeah.
Literally that. I mean, with writers, we'll overanalyze our words to the nth degree, and then you go to the reader, it's just like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that, yes. So much, yes, with that.
Yeah.
That's the words that I have to add. Yes.
Yeah, I like I say, I'll
That.
try and find it so I can send it to you. Um,
Please.
like I say, Tom Gould as overall is like I say he hits so many just really hits the zeitgeist of writing sometimes that it is just kind of like, how the hell have you got inside my head, and why aren't you paying rent? His recent book is called Baking with Kafka, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know.
Well, I love that. The writing advice that doesn't come across as, they know any more than you. It's just like, okay, we're in this together. It doesn't matter what stage of the career of your career that you're in. It's hard. It's a thing. And
But I think
every project is different.
But I think all creatives, no matter what stage you are in your creativity, you do, or you'll always have that thing of like, is this all right? Is this good? I don't know. Even when you've got it, whether you've had one review saying I really enjoyed this and 50 reviews saying you've really enjoyed it, you'll still be kind of like, there'll be that one word or one review that you're just kind of like, eh, that pretty much
Yeah.
confirms my own paranoia. Actually, I've just seen another great Tom Gould cartoon. I'll just read it back to you now. It's called The Appointment. So it has a guy basically coming in and say, "Oh, thank you for coming in. Please take a seat." It's like, "Oh, what's the diagnosis?" "Well, it's not good news, I'm afraid. Look, just give it to me straight." "Well, we need to remove 3 chapters, 2 characters, and a subplot. And I want you to prepare yourself for the possibility of a complete rewrite." Oh God! And yeah, it
Yeah.
just nails that kind of. Oh God! And I've just found one of the ones I absolutely loved. Right, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, just expelling the virtues of Tom Gould here. But
No, I have to check them out.
like I say, I will Yeah, I will. I will tweet you his handle, and prepare to lose your evening just through look, because he uploads most of his strips on his Twitter feed. But one of the ones that, oh my god, it absolutely hit home for me, because one of the things that I absolutely loathe is, and especially with writing, I don't know if you've had this as well, is people who, it's like you could have the best book in the world and they'll go, you should have used a semicolon there, or that's the wrong point of an apostrophe.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, is the story good though? It's like, well, it would be if it wasn't for that apostrophe. And he's done one called Marvelo, the Amazing Grammar Mouse, and it's literally 4 panels of a cartoon mouse lying on the ground staring into space, and you've got the narrator basically going, "Hello, Marvelo. Shall we go and point out some amusing grammar mistakes? Oh dear, Marvelo seems a bit depressed. Still, I'm sure a few misplaced apostrophes and split infinitives will cheer him up. What's that, Marvelo? You think you wasted your life on a pointless and mean-spirited quest to embarrass those less educated than yourself? Ha ha! Isn't Marvelo a funny little mouse?"
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's again, it's kind of that. I'll fully admit to the whole ideology of the bitter writer type of thing, and it's just kind of like, well, I'm not bitter. I'm just kind of like, just enjoy. Like I say, it goes back to these people overthinking what writing is about. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we do as the writers. We will overthink it, but at the end of the day, it is just, we do put a lot into it. We do kind of go very, very hardcore. It is just telling a story at the end of the day, and that's, if it's to be enjoyed. It's not to be kind of about. It is,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I say, deep down there, it's about a whole. It's that's all. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, I was coughing.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, it's about a whole. That's it. It's about a whole. That's the story. It's a whole, and it's the horror of the whole. It's the unknown and stuff like that. I mean, just get into it. Get into the story. Get into the whole. Do you need it to be about a mediation on the atrocities that occurred in 12th century London? Does it need, do you need to kind of look at what it means to be a man in the 21st century? These are important things. I'm not dismissing that, but sometimes you just need to have fun. You just need to
It's true.
turn your brain off, enjoy something. There we go. Or maybe I'm talking bollocks.
No,
That's
no,
that's
definitely. And I mean, no, having fun, and that's something like as a writer, I've had to recently remind myself, like, I love to do this,
yeah,
have fun doing it. And part of that is when you do hit that wall or where you're like, okay, I'm not sure what happens next, or you're just zoning.
yeah,
It seems like walking away from, your computer, your notebook, your work session, it's it can seem like the worst possible thing to do, but in reality, that's when a lot of the writing gets done. Walking away and listening to yourself when you need that break or that space, it's so important.
definitely. Just kind of allowing yourself to remember, like, what writing is about, and again, we go back to the whole campfire thing of, it's telling a story, and it's enjoying that story and making that story just fun for everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, again, it comes back to yeah, I can't even say it there. Why we write. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. It's, if you do it for the fame and fortune, you're going to be disappointed unless you're incredibly lucky. If you're doing it for the constant praise, again, you're going to be very disappointed, because you could write the most perfect. Harry Potter gets negative reviews.
Well, that's actually not true. I mean, it's just less than all the positive ones.
Oh yeah.
I've heard people rail on Harry Potter.
I don't like Harry Potter. I found it a little bit kind of just like, but that's just me. But my point was, what I get from writing now is just knowing that one person has turned around and gone, I really enjoyed that. It's like, oh, I'm doing my next story. Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is just one man's opinion. One
I
man of
don't know. You're making sense to me.
questionable sanity and sobriety. I just
Well,
say things, and if somebody agrees, again, I write things. If people enjoy them, then that's grand. I say things. If people agree with them, then awesome. If Trump can be president, then there we are.
well, just you throw out a whole bunch of stuff and see what sticks to the wall.
Exactly. Like I say, I don't know if you're Republican or Democrat, Jamie. So I was kind of like, yeah, Trump president. Let's leave that there.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's politics everywhere. I mean, I am very, very liberal, but I do try to give people breaks when they hear me talk, just because there's just so much noise
Yeah,
out there.
I'm mostly apolitical. I mean, I consider myself liberal. One of my friends, artist friends, CM Carter, who's done a lot of my book covers, has constantly mocked me for being a closet conservative. I think if you can get way too into that sort of thing, and again, we go back to Twitter and
Yeah,
the echo chamber that just never stops screaming.
mm-hmm. All this convoluted webs of hate and hope and misunderstanding and closed-mindedness and open-mindedness and misguidedness. It's a whole lot.
It's a lot to be taken in, and I think that's why we write, really.
Work it out.
Yeah, it's just kind
try
of
to find your understanding.
It's not even escapism. It's actually providing escapism to people. It's like, look, you're kind of going through the whole, yes, if you want to be really negative, life is absolutely horrible, but here's something that's hopefully going to take you out of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the beauty with genre fiction, is that you have these different realities, these different takes, these just, but at the core, it is, we have people, we have real life, we have real issues, we have discrimination and hope and love and hate, but you're able to add magical creatures and mysterious holes and things that kind of help both writers and readers alike just kind of work through it all.
Yeah, it's something to kind of help people get away from reality, or even kind of just kind of give yourself a damn break. Just kind of be like, look, relax, enjoy life, enjoy the absurd, enjoy the random, enjoy going into space, enjoy being terrified, enjoy elves and orcs battling in internal conflict, enjoy
grab those magic stones, give me a bow, and I'm ready to conquer some real world issues.
Yeah, exactly. And
and now I'm picturing myself in a cloak. It's silver.
Of course it's silver. Why other colour would it be? Gold would just be too extravagant.
It's true.
Like,
and turquoise would be too predictable.
Yeah, it's like, look at me in my gold coat, aren't I awesome? It's like, well, what a dick. I'm not having any of this. Whereas a bronze one, you wouldn't take somebody seriously if they had a bronze cloak.
It's true. I feel like green would be a commanding color, though.
Green is the it's kind of the
grass.
Yeah, it's that natural. It's that kind of. It's almost the fantasy standard in a way.
Yeah.
You have the green cloak. I don't know if it's reminiscent of Robin Hood or something like that. I don't know if that. I mean, that may just be.
Peter Pan is also in green.
Who?
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan, of course, as well.
And Tinkerbell, actually.
I thought Tinkerbell was like blue or pink.
Oh.
I don't know. She's a fairy. She's very small. You can't really see her.
That's true.
Until she grows and then turns into Julia Roberts, and you're like, what? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I was never a fan of Hook because I was just such a true believer in, like, the first, the original story.
Yeah, it's very much. It's an interesting spin, but
My daughter loves it.
yeah,
I think Hook is probably, like, her favorite version of that story.
okay. Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, though. Again, we come back to the idea of what's one man's treasure is another man's tripe, as it were.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, I love that. It's so true.
it's like we look at Hook, and for me, it's all right. You know, it is what it is. It's a vehicle for Robin Williams to be Robin Williams. God bless him. But like say for people such as your daughter, you kind of see it, and it's magical,
Mhm.
and that's amazing. That is what is
And accessible, yeah.
exactly, yeah. And then again, there's almost bringing us full circle, going back to the like I say about TV tropes. It's a gateway drug. It opens you up to other stories that I want to see, and that's the brilliant, beautiful thing about writing and
It's
about
true.
books and about any sort of you could link it to movies, you could link it to video games, any sort of cultural thing. It opens people to I like this, I want more of this. Where can I get more of this? In the case of books, it's you look into genres and then you go into, what did I like about this story? Well, I like the fear of the unknown. What else will I look at? Oh, okay, I'll look into like this, or I'll look into like I'm trying to think of an example. Like say when I was looking into it, I was looking into horror fiction actually, and so this means me going into my Amazon wish list. Do bear with me, but yeah, kind of. Discovering stuff like the Strugatsky brothers who did the book that the film Stalker, the Russian film Stalker, was based on. Uh,
Okay.
Looking into the work like classic works, even like Kurt Vonnegut and Thomas Pynchon, people like that, and then kind of finding the weird and wonderful stuff the like stuff like there's books I've discovered like Eden Green, Goat Dance, the Amulet, the weird stuff that I would have never found before. House of Leaves, which is something I have actually read and I did discover in a kind of it was kind of like, yeah, if you like weird horror, then this is definitely the thing for you. Somebody got it for me. I read it, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's
The recommendation, I do love those, and I've actually learned to rely on them more than I realized.
oh god, yeah, definitely.
Like, "Okay, if you like this, try this," and more times than not, it's like, "Okay, yeah, I enjoyed that. Give me something else."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think sometimes there's a difference between a recommendation of I love this, so you'll love this, and oh, you like this? Okay, well try this out. See how you like this. And yeah, there's that like difference, but kind of yeah, the whole fact of
Yeah, hit similar chords that you're like, "Okay, I like this."
don't ignore them as well.
What's that?
I I do keep hearing the dog snore. I think it is a very nice little soundtrack to our conversation.
Yes, well, it's kind of it's the soundtrack of my life. He was such a destructive, high energy puppy that I ended up leash training him in the house, which kept him, I trained him to be by my side all the time,
Yeah.
you know.
No, I think lady again going with writing's fun and all, but let's talk about dogs. People love dogs, but no, lady is the same. At the moment, she is currently tucked up in bed with my wife, so it's actually quite tempting to join them as well.
Well, that, I am myself pretty ready for lunch. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and your words and your projects and the Unbound
Of
link as
course.
well?
So if you want to pre-order Deep Down There, then you just need to go to unbound.com/books/deep down there, or simply go on unbound.com, click discover, type in Oli Jacobs, that's OLI Jacobs, and you should see where the horror of with the hole is. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am there as at Oli Jacobs author. Facebook is facebook.com/OJ books, all one word. And of course, you can buy all my literary wares on Amazon.
Awesome. And be sure to check all that out. Thank you so much, Oli, for coming on the show. It was great. It was great chatting with you again.
As always, it is an absolute pleasure, Jayme. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to air my curious ideologies.
It was my pleasure. A big thank you to Oli for coming on the show and you guys for tuning in. It's been a great first episode back. Remember to subscribe to the show. Follow me on Twitter at @MeBettingfield. The show at Too Many Words Pod. Find us both on Facebook. Go to my new site, tmwpod.com. There's a spot on the site. It's super easy for you to reach out with questions. If you want to be, if you're interested in being a guest or you represent somebody that does. And also, if you have something you want me to review, you can go to the site and click on contact. Also, patreon.com/too-many-words. Go over there, show your support, and get some extras. I will talk to you next Thursday. And next week, I have graphic novel super team, Mark Allard and Elaine Will. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.